Welcome to episode 18 of Play Some D. And as always, you are here with the host of Play Some D. It is me, D, Coach D. And 18th episode of this lovely variety podcast episode show. Just the melting pot of things I love to call this, but it is my weekly soapbox of a sort to come on and talk about news, sports, music, movies, politics, anything, business, opinion, anything that just sparks the interest of me for the previous week. I always say this, but there's no overtime, but sometimes there's overtime. So Play Some D goes in 4 topics, usually 4 quarters, and with possibility of it being. Probably should have did it here because there was a number of good stories to talk about this week, but yeah, just 4. Obviously, I must talk about the NBA. We're at the conference finals now, and that's obviously, I'm sure anyone that's perused Play Some D, basketball is probably the number one thing I've talked about to date. So Eastern and Western Conference Finals I will speak on to a degree. I'll talk about Juneteenth, which just passed a few days ago. Fell on a Saturday this year. On the year is, becomes a federal holiday, so the celebration was a little bit heightened and ears were perked up. So I'll speak on just a brief history of Juneteenth, and we also have big news about the NCAA. In episode 9, I believe it was. So I'll talk about that. Then I'll just talk about the quick story that came out about the story about the Harley Quinn animated series with Batman and Catwoman. I just felt like that was something. I thought about overtime, but I've been going so long with Play Some D that a 5th topic that could stretch it into an hour hopefully is trying to get it down to 30 minutes, but until then it's tough to be a 5th topic when I'm long-winded on just 4. So yeah, that's the 4 topics for today, and as always, much appreciated if you like or out the conversation, the podcast, the episode. I'm grateful for you to subscribe, like, turn on notifications, all that good stuff if that tickles your fancy. But I'm going to go ahead and tickle my fancy and get into Juneteenth. First quarter is Juneteenth. On Thursday, which would have been the 17th, I believe. It was a new federal holiday commemorating the end of slavery. President, I don't know. I know it's been a long running. There's people like the honorable Opal Lee, who has been I think she received a pin after he signed it. She's been a champion for this for forever. I think she ever done to raise awareness. Um, the House voted 415 to 14 to send the bill to Biden. I don't know what 14 individuals. Don't even want to talk about them or even give them any recognition of why that wouldn't have been sent to Biden. And then the Senate passed unanimously, so then he voted on it. So it's cool to see our representatives respect the day. It's I think that's bigger than anything. People that represent the people see this as, not hurting anything. Does it do anything? The jury's out. We get little small victories like this, and you should count the small victories, but it's really about the long run, about the things that actually happen in the black and brown communities moving forward, and not just signing some paper to make it a holiday, but still, shoot somebody in the cops still, whatever, and you know, looking sideways, and just a number of different things that I go on and on about that I'm not. But that's the stuff, the real laws that get signed in that actually helps black and brown communities and things of that nature. A couple of things that was interesting, some facts that Abraham Lincoln, he had the Emancipation Proclamation, and the country's at civil war, so a lot of to learning about the day growing up and things like that. A lot of the stuff, when you read over the history of it, it starts to bring back those memories of like, oh yeah, I kind of remember. I remember that stuff. I remember them talking about that stuff. But much of the language in the Emancipation Proclamation suggests otherwise. Lincoln's primary objective was not to ameliorate the lives of those in bondage. Rather, his attempt was to preserving the Union. Lincoln responded in an open letter to Greeley. My paramount object in the struggle is to save the Union, as not either to save or destroy slavery. What I do about slavery and the color race, I do believe it helps to save this Union, and that's the United States. He didn't want to destroy it, and I do think deep down he probably thought that was the right thing to do. Lincoln and the Union Army used slavery as a political motive to justify strengthened military endeavors against the Confederacy. Black soldiers, they would fight. It's always a political angle, but then there's a right thing to do. The Civil War ended in April of this is like 9 facts that came up years ago. I actually remember reading this article actually. General Gordon Granger and his troops traveled to Galveston, Texas to announce the orders. The people of Texas are informed that the proclamation announced that all frees were enslaved. Throughout the war, Texas was not closely monitored as other battle states. For this reason, many slave owners went to Texas with their slaves. Basically, freedom did not come at a snap of a finger for everyone in Texas. Some people who should have been free continue to work through the harvest because their masters held the announcements, and they let them know about things of that nature. In 1870s, a group of former slaves pulled 800 together to purchase tens of acres of land and create the Emancipation Park. That's modern day. It's in Houston. There's just little cool facts that you find about the day. In 1980, Emancipation Day in Texas became a legal state holiday in recognition of Juneteenth. However, state offices do not completely close and is not considered a partial staffing holiday. Elsewhere, the holiday is also referred to as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, and Black Independence Day. So as you can see, the day has been recognized, and black folks have been black folks talking like just black people have been celebrating the day, and they should. It shouldn't take a holiday to people to know about it. I mean, you should learn about it. This should be history. It's just natural history. How you take it, digest it, and run with it. That's a whole different topic. But this is something that should be taught. A holiday for it, yeah, it is cool. I mean, it's a holiday for all kind of pointless things. So, making a holiday for something worthwhile that's real, and then can give you a reason to go and gather some information, and maybe for certain people that don't know history of it, give you time or a day to reflect and and maybe put it in perspective in your life, or maybe don't, but just learning. That's always good. Just that awareness. Awareness is better than everything, and I think that's what making this a holiday does almost more than anything. Just creating awareness forever, as it's being a national holiday forever. Every June 19th, people will Google Juneteenth. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, even if it only gets a couple hundred people a year. Maybe that trickles down, but whatever. But that's, I think, is the biggest thing more than anything. But the fight is on bigger, more treacherous issues, in my opinion. So, shout out to Juneteenth. Shout out to it becoming a national holiday. I don't want to do, as far as how slavery goes and when it actually ended, and just signing stuff into law and saying stuff and spitting it out back in 1800s, it just didn't work like that. And slavery was such entrenched in the culture and the country that it wasn't a snap of the fingers and things of that nature. So, yeah, real quick, Juneteenth. I just wanted to get in there and just talk about some things. Like I said, shout out to Opal Lee, Joe Biden, all our representatives. That's just big. That's just big to see them understanding that this, there is some importance there, and that's not a hard issue to pass through to get signed over. So the second quarter is where we get into some basketball, the basketball, and that's the NBA Conference Finals. I only have two teams. I predicted that the Clippers would get there, and I predicted that Milwaukee would get there. Had the Nets been healthy, Milwaukee's out of there. So essentially, the teams that I would guess is turned out to be the most healthiest. The best teams that are still the healthiest probably are there. Nets would have beat the Bucks had Kyrie been available or Harden been healthy. The Bucks just weren't a match for them. From an offensive standpoint on the Bucks side, they were just outmatched by the Nets and James Harden injury in game one, essentially. I look back at, I forgot what episode that was, but I almost picked Atlanta to beat Philly. I thought that could happen, especially with Embiid being hurt at the time. I think this was before Embiid even got hurt. But I thought that Hawks would give them a run for their money. But Philly should have won. They were the better team. I think clearly you just look at they had the better players and they didn't win. Just like the Clippers. The Clippers had the better players in Utah, and I figured they would win at the end. But if Utah ran a little better offense and played a little bit better defense, they might have won that series. They just took a lot of tough shots, and it was just hard for them to overcome. Just they're not the Golden State Warriors, they're the Utah Jazz. So you got to play Utah Jazz basketball. And then for the Phoenix Suns, I thought the Lakers would beat them, and they would have beat them if Anthony Davis was healthy. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind about that. But Phoenix, that was inexcusable that they let Denver beat them without a starting backcourt. So I missed both of those. But Phoenix, but gets us basically to Phoenix and the Clippers, and I think it's Phoenix. There, I think it would be a tougher series, but I almost think Phoenix will win this in 4 or 5. Probably will be 5. My guess is 5, honestly. Without Kawhi, if Kawhi comes back and he's healthy, change my whole opinion. But constructed as is, I just don't think the Clippers have enough firepower. Maybe cat in the hat that he can pull out. Maybe, but he needs somebody else to be able to put the ball in the basket. He'll need more than just Reggie Jackson and Paul George. I mean, I believe I forget which Morris brother is on that team. I don't know. They look exactly alike. He'll have a good game. He'll have probably at least one or two good games. But a Terrence Mann 39-pointer, it ain't gonna happen. Zubac giving you a bunch of points ain't gonna happen. I mean, maybe you get a DeMarcus Cousins 10-pointer a nighter type of deal. But somebody like that is going to have to step up and score some points because Booker is going to put the ball in the basket. Chris Paul will be back. He's going to put the ball in the basket. DeAndre Ayton's going to put the ball in the basket. And they have a number of other guys who can score points. And I don't know if the Clippers have enough. I think Phoenix turns out to be get this over with rather quickly, I believe. As far as the Atlanta-Milwaukee series, I'm inclined to say almost the same thing. Milwaukee pretty much has them outmatched at every single position. I mean, down the line, Milwaukee's better. But after you just watched the Milwaukee offense against the Nets, Atlanta has a shot because if Nate McMillan puts a game plan together, if he puts a game plan in that's going to stop him from just running to the basket and something wrong here. Never mind. And Milwaukee should easily handle Atlanta. They have guys that match up with. They have a couple of guys they can put on. I mean, they can throw everybody at Trey. Trey's probably going to still score, but they can throw. Giannis can play him a little bit. Drew will probably be on him mostly. PJ can be on him. Middleton can be on him. They got guys that can throw up just like they threw it at Durant. And Clint Capella may turn out to have a big series, though. I don't know what's up with DeAndre Hunter, but he could come back. And I don't know what's up with Bogdanovich either. So Atlanta looks a little tough for Atlanta there. But Milwaukee-Phoenix finals is what I picture, and I could see that going the distance. Probably I could see that going all 7. I think they would have the two best players. Arguably the two best players in the series most nights. Giannis will probably be the best series a couple nights, the best player a couple nights, but for the most part, I think Chris Paul and the others. So, yeah, I think Phoenix would win eventually 6 or 7. 6 or 7. I definitely think it will go 6 or 7. Milwaukee would just turn into a best of 3. I think that makes most sense. But for the most part, I wouldn't say that the playoffs have been exciting at all. A lot of injuries, a lot of just watching some kind of poorly played basketball, in some instances, a lot of jacking up shots, a lot of no offense being played, some defense being played. And then just a drowning of fouls. Last week I talked about the foul issues in the NBA, fouls and flagrants, and just it's whatever for the game. And I don't know, it bothers me. But these playoffs haven't been very exciting to me at all. But I watch. I love basketball. I love competition. So I'll be, we'll get to the NBA Finals. I'll have another segment up here. First or fourth quarter, one of them, talking about the NBA Finals, and then I'll talk about the NBA champions probably, depending on how that all turns out. It just depends how interesting things of nature that turn out to be. So, NBA Conference Finals, like I said, yeah, I like Phoenix. Like Phoenix to get it over with quick. I like Milwaukee to get it over with quick. And then have a very unlikely NBA Finals that nobody probably ever would have thought at the beginning of the season. So yeah, we're into halftime. Right after basketball. I think last week I sung a little bit. Maybe had a DCMA, DMCA, whatever, majiggy, but nobody pays attention to that. So woman here, but it's really Batman and Catwoman, and it came across the internet this week, and I figured I'd just do a quick, interesting segment on it because I'm very big on right now supporting women, and I wouldn't say I'm big on it. I think everybody is, and I think it's just important. Women are just as important in society as men. They haven't been treated as such from the beginning as they should be. You know, they're the more important gender for sure. I'll say that all day long and twice on Sunday. They're the more important gender, and necessarily to or talk about it as, but it's basically the Harley Quinn animated series on HBO. I haven't seen anything that went that far. It's pretty over the top, and it's a good adult series, animated series. But when they mentioned oral sex, I was like, wait a minute, it's, cartoon. Why would they even do that? But obviously, I haven't seen any of season 2, so maybe that's where it leads into. And honestly, it kind of sparked my interest. I actually did like it, and I kind of just stopped watching it. So I may cut back in and watch, but it was basically the revealed they cut the scene where Batman performs, oral sex on Catwoman, and they had a moment, and then and DC was like, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. They're like, heroes don't do that. And if that's what I mean, the word heroes is like, you're a hero. You do stuff for other people. You make sure other people are. So just in the terms of hero would absolutely do that. Like, the iconic characters of Batman and Catwoman, then you can break that down a little bit more and say we don't want our characters doing that. That's where I think if the language went that way for me, I probably wouldn't even be talking about it. You don't, Batman wouldn't do that to a woman, but, whether it's Bruce Wayne or Batman or whichever character, you're kind of like, if he likes her, he probably will. He probably should. And doing in that fashion, if that's the storyline, if that's acceptable for the network or whatever the case may be, the audience, they're cool with that. It makes sense. Why wouldn't you? I mean, movies do it. TV shows, it's a part of what we watch. It seems like a bit of ignorance. So I wasn't in the room. I don't know the context of it all and that good stuff. But just hearing it from that point of view, you think like, is it just because it's a woman? Is Batman better than Catwoman? Heroes, Wolverine, Spider-Man, all the great heroes just they would let Catwoman do it to them, or it's just it just don't make sense, especially in the world we live. children are watching, or your audience, it's not a sexual show, not a sexual animated series, then don't do it because of that, but not because heroes don't do it. And then it's interesting because, Zack Snyder posted a picture about it. Memes happen and things of that nature. And Val Kilmer, I guess he wrote something to Nicole Kidman, which was in, Batman Forever, on Twitter. And all the people that's, obviously I understand Batman and things of that nature and society right now. I mean, that's would be one of the cool things. Honestly, Batman would do. I mean, it would be cool. I mean, especially if it's his love interest, that's his girl or whatever case may be. Yeah. So it was interesting. It now it sparks my attention to want to go watch the show now and just see. Maybe that might have been what this was. This could have been a grab just to go get some eyeballs on a TV show. Which if it was smart, kudos to them. In that nature, kind of letting some stuff out the bag just to get some hype. I ain't mad at that at all. But what superheroes do in the bedroom, if you polled it, everybody would say heroes do that for sure. For sure. So for fourth quarter, I want to quickly speak on the pretty monumental ruling from the Supreme Court unanimously sides with the college players in dispute with NCAA about compensation. This Neil Gorsuch, which upheld the district judge decision, said it violated antitrust laws, placing limits on the education-related benefits the schools can provide to athletes. The decision allows schools to provide to athletes with unlimited compensation as long as it is in some way connected to their education. That gets a little sketchy, but it like a lot of people are saying, and originally for me, is it cracks the door. I mean, yeah, these guys, but to crack the door and then bring in some more angling to get it a nice little fine tightrope, because if it was just about paying football players, basketball players, the top, whatever, door would have been blasted down, and you would say you pay them. Got to figure out how to nicely massage that. So a lot of jokes online talking about buying expensive things, giving them to players, let them sell them, and boom, boom, boom for that's too much work. But players will do what they got to do to get a couple extra dollars. And at the end of the day, I saw paid internships. That's not a bad idea, because paid internships could be easily just a couple of hours from them working from home. Maybe helping a local company with some tech support, or some simple stuff that they could just do from home on off hours, a couple hours a week, and make a couple extra dollars, and that'll help drastically. I mean, that'll help a lot to be able to do that. So there's a couple things in there that irons that out, and then Kavanaugh wrote. The NCAA couches arguments for not paying student athletes in innocuous labels, but the labels cannot disguise the reality. The NCAA business models would be flatly illegal in most any other industry in America. That's so true, and to hear all the different judges kind of have feel some kind of way about that. More lawsuits, more maybe not lawsuits, presented to the NCAA, and if it goes to the Supreme Court or whoever it needs to go to be argued, that's this starts the conversation. It's 9-0. Yeah, unanimous. Hopefully, it'll be a major next step on the road to a true, fair, competitive system for these athletes. Let's see what else is in this article. Even though the decision does not directly address name, image, and likeness, the NCAA remains committed to supporting NIL benefits for student athletes. So that's a whole nother, the name, image, likeness, things of that nature. That's still a whole nother category. But, making the NCAA become accountable and it be on their radar where this just doesn't get swept under the rug. NCAA makes a lot of money from a lot of different things, and champion, football playoffs and how much money that's just going to gross and make for, I don't know. I mean, it's the coaches, the conferences, and a lot of players make it to NFL, make a lot of money, but a lot don't. So it's easy for me to say, for players to sit down. I didn't play for the NCAA. I didn't play any sports in college. Had I been the best player in my team, talk about sit down, I probably wouldn't. Had I been the worst player in the team, talk about sitting down, maybe I do. So it's just, athletes and situations and things of that nature. So it's understandable, but this news coming out is so awesome for young kids and wanting to play sports and wanting to have an education, to do a little bit of both, because you should be able to do a little bit of both and then still live a bit comfortably. Life is tough, school, especially if you're, a student athlete that wants to get a tough degree, a degree that takes studying and things, and going to class. It can wear on you, but if you can make a couple dollars to maybe eat a little bit better, that's that step forward that I spoke of, and when I did the episode 9, watch myself again, but I said they won't just flat out say pay the players, but they're gonna do something that edges it in the right direction, and I think this does, and I think most people are satisfied with this ruling, and I think NCAA is aware that the Supreme Court is not playing with this, and if it gets to them, they're probably not going to be siding with the NCAA unless it's something just, astronomical or ridiculous. So, still, keep my eyes peeled on this. Shout out to Ed O'Bannon, I believe. I think it's Ed O'Bannon who kind of, really jumped this off with, his name, image, and likeness being on NCAA. Years back, he kind of, one of the pioneers for this. I spoke about Opal Lee and Juneteenth. He's one of the pioneers for the NCAA and student athletes. So he's definitely got his fingerprints all over this as well, whether he was, I don't know if he was there or whatever the case may be, or how much his cases were involved in this, but a big shout out to him. And yeah, let me close this baby out. Play Some D, episode 18, variety joint, episodical. I feel like I've seen that word somewhere, but yeah, show, episode, podcast. I need to really get this baby on like Apple Music or something, because I don't plan on stopping no time soon. But thank you for watching. As always, if you like, a subscribe button. Wait. Down. Wait. Over that. Whatever. I can't with the This is a good one. This is a good one. NBA hasn't been really exciting, honestly, but I've watched, just to be honest. That Batman and Catwoman thing was show. Just do it. Like DC, Batman. I don't know. NCAA, great ruling. This new bright one that makes a lot of sense. So, episode 18. Thanks for watching. As always, until next week, until the next one, you know how I do. I holla.